Welcome back to What Arty Noobs with General Disturbance. This is the SU-85. It's a Tier 5 Soviet tank destroyer. It's located on the north spawn of Erlenberg, and it's under the commands of MangoDK. Now, many people who've been in the game a long time will actually know Mango. I've known him, well, a long time, and he's submitted some good replays every now and then. In fact, I was the first one to do a video on his first pools medal, and that was in a T67 on the Westfield map. Okay, well, you had to go underwater for that one, but he's out the other side. Now, the SU-85 is based on the T-34 chassis. It is basically a T-34 without a turret, and instead it's got a casemate with an 85mm gun mounted. Now, it's actually very similar to the SU-122, which was a hull which had a 122mm assault gun mounted in it, and the Russians originally weren't so keen to actually make this particular tank destroyer, but they had to start making it in August of 1943 because they first came across the Tiger tanks in 1942, and they didn't have the ability to penetrate them with a 76.2mm gun, so they needed an 85mm gun to get through the hulls, and that's how the SU-85 came about. Now, they manufactured 2,050 of these at the Uralmash plant, huge number of them, and eventually they were replaced in the war by the SU-100. Now, I didn't mean to say that they stopped using them. They carried on using them all the same, even after the SU-100 came in. But the SU-100 had a 100mm gun. Now, he's got the 85mm with the standard HE round that he's actually loaded at the moment. He's got 300 alpha. So, but he's only got, he hasn't got the full penetration. If I show that there, it's only 44mm. So if he does come across a Tier 4, he could easily penetrate it. But with a Tier 5, he's going to have a bit of difficulty trying to penetrate those enemy tanks up ahead. He'd be much better off with the armor-piercing rounds, which do 144mm of pen and 180 alpha. Now, it's got a 30-degree arc, 15 degrees either side of the center line, and only 6 degrees of gun depression. And that's mainly down to the fact that the roof is fairly low, and in order to squeeze the gun in, and it was a big gun that they had to squeeze into the hull. In fact, they had to redesign the entire hull just to get the gun in, and they weren't too happy about doing that because they didn't want to just take a standard T-34 and rip the turret off and put the gun in. It actually required a lot more work. So yes, they took one of the most highly produced vehicles of the entire war and converted it to a tank destroyer. It did work. They did kill enemy tanks. In fact, at 1,000 meters, they could carve straight through the front of virtually any German tank that they came across, including the Tigers. Another worry that they had about the same time was that they knew, after they met the Tigers for the first time in 1942, they knew that there was Panther tanks in design and that they were on the way. I think they must have had spies somewhere telling them that this was the case. But those Panther tanks didn't actually turn up in battle against the Soviets until the Battle of Kursk in 1943. So they had a little time to build up enough of these. In fact, actually, they started producing the SU-85 in August of 1943, and they stopped producing them in July of 1944. So 2,005 and 2,050 vehicles during that brief short period, which is just 11 months in total, to produce 2,050. That's a lot. Mind you, they did produce a huge amount of T-34s during the same period, so not really surprising. Now, he's not getting any action, and there are battles, kills going on elsewhere, and although there's an enemy T-67 up ahead, he's decided to move up. Now, he is risking the possibility that T-67, his 76mm gun, will poke his head over the ridgeline and start plonking rounds in. The armor on the front of this vehicle is 45mm. but it is very well angled back, and you will see in the armor profile how well angled it is to actually give this tank the ability to shrug off some lower shells. But he's decided he's going to push forward and see if he can spot the enemy. Looks like that T-67's pulled away. He's gone elsewhere. Okay, we can see an enemy tank in the town. It's an M10 RBFM. This tank destroyer, by the way, is quite fast. It's 55 kilometers an hour top speed, so it can buzz about the battlefield very quickly. But the same was true of the T-34 for that matter. Okay, the M4A1's decided to go out ahead of us, and this could be useful because it means that we might be able to get shots on the enemy. And there is a T-67. He just pulled back. And look at that. One shot gets a hit in, and he's got 325. So, and there's his first kill. I don't know how he managed to do that. I think, oh, it was because he was firing the HE. That's why, yes. Okay, Grilla. Okay, he's going to need 2 rounds to take that guy out. The slow reload is one of the big problems of this tank destroyer. It is a slow reload. Standard reload, 5.75 seconds. And you can see Mango's only got it down to 5.39. But there goes another hit on the Leopard. Leopard's not being able to respond at the moment. We know he's still there. And that round hit, but he's going to have to fire another one. Oh, no, he didn't. He set him alight. Although he was unspotted, he got him alight and he's out the game. Okay, so he now has 3 kills in this game so far. You know, the unusual thing about this battle so far he hasn't been spotted. Nobody's seen him. Sixth Sense hasn't gone off once. Now they are winning by 1 tank at the moment. Our M4A1 did die. There he is, there's his wreck. There's only one other Arty on the enemy team. It's an M41 HMC. He doesn't appear to be over this side of the map. So we could make our way over to the enemy cap area. One of the enemy tanks, the DSPZ's right up the other end of the map. He's almost at our cap. He's just about to attack our Arty. And he is now capping. Now we know that the M41 is nearby because we just saw the tracer coming up from that tree line. I'm hoping that the M10 is going to go up there. And in the meantime, Mango will just sit here and keep the cap going. He might actually be able to help that M10 if he does go across to try and get that M41. There's only 3 tanks and 1 RT left on the enemy team. The DSPZ's up the other end. He's stopped capping. We've got a Panzer IV Aslains H and a T-34S. T-34S is in the castle. Panzer IV Aslains H we haven't seen. And there is the enemy RT. 1 shot and he's wiped out just like that. So Mango's now got 4 kills and a Pascucci's. And the enemy's now capping again. It's a bit silly because you've left it a bit late to get back into the cap. And really, the enemy will only be helped if his teammates actually do get into the cap with him. But the problem they've got is there's a Churchill 3 nearby, and if he sees them capping, he might go in there to say, I want a defender medal, please. And the enemy's on their way back to us. First shot takes out the T-34 shielded. 1 round. 85mm rounds are so useful against tanks like that. He pumps one into a Panzer IV Aslains H. He's still not been spotted. And he's stopped. Oh, he's got the kill on that one, and that's a Top Gun. And there's only 1 enemy left now. It's the DSPZ. He's sitting in the cap at the other end, but he has been reset. The Churchill 3 died. But it looks like Mango's going to win this game without ever being spotted. He's done it. He's actually done it. Mango has won the game for his teammates. Here's the end of battle stats, and that was the first class tanker for MangoDK in the SU-85. Best result he's had, at least I think it is. He may have had an ace tanker, I'm not sure, but he certainly managed to get a Reaper badge for taking out the consecutive enemies with consecutive shots. He got an arsonist for setting light to an enemy tank and watching it burn to death. In fact, he did that to the Leopard. He also got the Raider medal for actually never being detected by the enemy throughout the entire battle. He used the bush mechanic very good to actually try and ensure that they didn't see him. He got a fire for effect for doing more damage than the hit points to his own vehicle, a Pascucci's medal for killing 2 enemy SPGs, as well as an Invader medal for capping out and winning by cap, as well as a Top Gun for getting at least 6 kills, and his win rate from that battle was 6,393, which is Super Unicum standard. Very good battle indeed by Mango. So let's have a quick look at the team scores. Okay, well, he definitely got the highest damage in the game, but was it 20%? No, it wasn't. He didn't get the high caliber because it wasn't 20% of the enemy hit pool. He only got 1,703. If he got a bit more, I think he might have actually got the 20% and then he would have been okay. The second highest damage to Churchill 3 and the third highest damage to KV-1SA on the enemy team with 1,326. Their T-14 got a cool headed, so he must have survived having a lot of rounds bounced off him. When it came to kills, yep, Mango got that one as well. 6 kills to him, 4 kills went to the Churchill 3, and 3 kills went to the DSPZ on the enemy team, the only member of their team still alive at the end. And when it came to base XP, the Churchill did the best on that one. He got 1,699, so it's well over 1,000. Very good play by him. Second place was the M10 RBFM with 769, and Mango was just behind him with 724. But of course, Mango was the one who won the game for them. He fired 15 rounds, 11 direct hits, 10 penetrations, damage of 1,703 hit points, of which 1,563 were distances of more than 300 meters. Now, this actually ties in with the real SU-85 because the tank was very thin on armor and it could be destroyed easily if it was spotted. But it was so low, because it was only basically the hull of a T-34, which is actually quite low, it was so low that it could hide in the bushes and not be seen. And the gun was effective out to 1,000 meters, which meant that if they hid in the bushes, they could spot a German tank and wipe him out before he even knew where they were and get away before his teammates his fellow Germans could do anything about it. So it actually parallels the fact that he did most of his damage at long range in this game. And that's exactly what you have to do with the SU-85, both in the game and what they actually had to do in real life. Now, he earned 71,543 credits in the battle and 2,172 experience points. So, very good conclusion to the game. Let's have a quick look at the armor profile for this beast. Yes, you can see it's actually quite low, and that sloped armor at the front actually is quite effective. You can see it's 45 millimeters impacted armor, goes up to 60 with the angling. There is a part here where you can see it's 60 millimeters. I think that's where they put the tracks on the front of the vehicle underneath, or the spare tracks, the spare links, and that gives it extra armor in the model. So that's quite nice. And you can see that this is the gunner's viewports, and I think, is it the driver there, or is it the driver there and the gunner there? Well, we'll see that in the modules afterwards. But the sights are the same, 45 millimeters, but you can see they're fairly slab-sided. They're not heavily angled, so it can be penetrated fairly easy from the sides. And of course, the roof is fairly weak because they didn't anticipate that anyone would be firing in from this direction. 20 millimeters of armor, which means most Arty can actually score nice hits on an SU-85 if you can get the shots on target. Okay, looking at the live model, you can see against an 85 millimeter round, it's very poor. If you would get shells in, but if it was somebody firing back with a 75 millimeter round, even that would probably go straight through as well. I think they wouldn't have difficulty penetrating this vehicle if they could see it. But most of the time, they could not see an SU-85 because it hid very well indeed. So a quick look at the modules, and I'll bring that out. That's it, good. Okay, so it is the driver on this side of the tank, and it's actually the gunner is directly behind him. So that must be the gunner's port there on this side. And we've got the tank commander on the left-hand side of the gun. And there's a fuel tank there. There's an ammo rack underneath the in the floor of the vehicle. We've got the loader sitting directly behind the gunner, and 2 big ammo racks which are either side or actually behind the at the back of the casement there on the right-hand side of the tank there, and of course in the floor. Engines standard in the center, 2 fuel tanks either side, transmission at the rear. So yes, if you want to get a stop the engine, just fire into the rear of the vehicle. If you want to get an ammo rack, you need to be on the left-hand side or right-hand side of the vehicle as you're looking at it to get that ammo rack. But you can quite easily get, I think you could easily get an ammo rack or even get the most of the crew by angling a shot to go through the vehicle at the front, and you take out 3 crew members with 1 shot, I think, if you angled it in, and possibly even get an ammo rack as well. So there you are. That's where all the modules are on the SU-85. Well, thank you very much indeed to Mango for sending in this replay. You don't often see a tank destroyer get a Raider Invader combination. It's normally Arty that do that, mainly because we're the ones who are sitting at the back and they don't normally see us as we're creeping forwards, avoiding sight of the enemy, and then creep into their base and start capping behind them. But of course, when you get a tank destroyer doing it, you can actually defend yourself against those enemy tanks when they're coming to reset, as he did in this case. So well done, Mango. Nice replay. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, please give the video a like. Do subscribe to our channel. Leave a little comment down below because it feeds the algorithm. And thank you for watching.